Have you been looking for the perfect morning routine, productivity hack, or practice that you can do to make your life better, seem like you're more in control, and that you're moving on up? I thought that too. I don't anymore. And I'm here today to tell you what I really think about all of those things that we're told that we should do to make our life better. I'm Jackie Wolven, and I'm a community organizer, an artist, a creative, a speaker, a facilitator. I do so many things, and I am here to help you figure some stuff out. I figure as a Gen X, I've learned a few things, and maybe you can put them into practice for yourself. Keep watching, and I'll tell you some things that I've learned. When I first started my career in the 1990s, we were all told that we had to use the Stephen Covey system. It was a planner that had you prioritize your events and your tasks, and it was the corporate tool for productivity. We all took classes on it. We all had the binders. It was a whole system. And I bought into it totally. I thought, oh, this is what will make control of my life. This will make it better. And so I had the planner and I learned all the things. And my life was still challenging, which is how life is. That's a hint to what I'm going to tell you later. But that's where it all started. Then, when I first started speaking, gosh, maybe 10 years ago, I did a lot of workshops and facilitated classes and speaking events where I talked about productivity and different tools and tips and tasks and things that you could do. I did a lot of goal setting. I helped people feel like they could be more productive, I thought. I taught them the Pomodoro technique. I taught them about top 3 things. I taught them the Post-it note technique. I did goal setting in a variety of ways. And none of those things are bad on their own. They just aren't really the magic key to having a better life or getting more things done. And then the other thing that I know is that on this app and really everywhere, we are inundated with information that says, use this app, use this technique, use this bullet journal, use this, whatever it is to be more productive. And again, none of those on their own are bad. It's just that the idea that they're the magic answer to having more productivity and more clarity in your life is probably not true. In fact, I know it's not true. During the global pandemic, I did a lot of work personally on what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. It was a time of introspection. We had this sort of strange gap, and I was able to really look at what is it that I want to accomplish and how do I want to do it. But more importantly, I started to ask myself, how do I want to feel? And that became the thing that was the most important to me, because we are human beings. We're not human doings. And I feel like all of these productivity gurus are more interested on you acting like a machine, not like a person. And the disconnect that can happen for you, or it did for me, is that there's a mind-body disconnect. And so in my mind, I thought, oh, I must do all these things, and then I might be happy. Instead of wondering, are any of these things making me happy? And so when I was able to have a little bit of gap to understand that for myself, that was a huge shift. I think that the whole idea that we are supposed to be machine-like, and in fact, you can hear that talk even sometimes at the doctor's office. They'll say that it's a system, or that you are, running like a machine, or you should have just have more access in a way that a machine would, or that our brains are like computers. They're not like computers. We are human beings. We are part of the animal kingdom, actually. And so we are feeling, both in ourselves, our our emotional state, and in our physical state. And by paying attention to that, can lead us down the path to doing the things that we want to do and how we might want to do that. Maybe thinking, well, I do want to get a lot of things done. I want to be super productive. I get that. We're on this planet for a very finite amount of time, and you want to do as much as you can. And I wholly think that is an important thing. It's how you do it that might be more important. If you are spending so much time trying to get all of your information in a bullet journal, or you are trying to have a perfect Asana um, layout for your tasks and your productivity, you might be spending more time on the tool than on living. And that's a disconnect too. And so we get attracted to the tools because they are attractive. Who doesn't like a nice piece of stationery? But or an awesome app, but those tools should be in service to your life, not your life in service to those tools. And I think that any one of those can be fine if they're leading you towards a life that makes you happier. And what I see is that people are enslaved to the tools, and they are diving in and having that be the thing that they're focused on instead of living life. So you might be wondering what I do, and I'll tell you that. Before I get into all the things that I do to be productive, let me tell you what I've done in the last 3 months, just to give you an idea that by throwing out all of those systems and not using any of them, I have been really productive. Here's just a few of the things that I've done. I wrote a little list because I thought, I wonder what I have done. And I think I'm missing a few things, but this will give you the gist. In the last 3 months, I've written 3 federal grants. I've finished 25 paintings. I facilitated a 10-week grant learning program in Appalachia. I launched 3 new community events in my own community. I traveled and spoke at a conference. I planted and maintained a garden. I do meditation and yoga regularly. I met with friends and had fun. I read 13 books. I cooked dinner every night I was home. I cleaned my house and organized it just as I always would. I launched this YouTube channel. I became a Life is Good ambassador. I applied for and was accepted into the Weave Speakers Bureau. I completed a speaker's training, not to mention filing reports, doing email, and all the other things that I have to do. Those are some pretty big things, though, all without some fancy system, some expensive system, or something that I'm spending all of my time on. So, how do I do it? I set big goals in big buckets. So, one of the goals that I've had for the last 2 years is to become a speaker in a speakers bureau. And I worked very hard to do that. I spoke in as many places that I could. I facilitated as many groups as I was able to do. I then went through the processes of applying at a speakers bureau. And so it wasn't the how that I was focused on, it was the what. And the what was I wanted to be part of a larger organization. And so I set myself on that course. Just like anything else, I do big buckets, big ideas. I want to paint every day. And so I just paint every day. It isn't something that I put in a schedule or I put on my calendar. It's just something that I do. I want to paint every day because the big bucket is I want to finish paintings. And the only way to finish them is to work on them. Now, to be honest, I don't paint every day. There are days that I absolutely cannot because I'm doing something else fun. And so I don't beat myself up over it. I just move on. So the idea is I just create every 6 months big goals. Organizationally, I do this as well. We work through a plan and decide what big goals do we want to accomplish. And they have big names, things like how do we create community? How do we create connection? How are we lifting up entrepreneurs? They aren't the hows, they're the whats. And I think that's the bigger issue. So many people get stuck on the what and how they're going to do it. And how everything has to be done. And that's not the big problem. The big problem is knowing exactly what you wanted to do. Now, I know that Simon Sinek says you have to know your why. And for me, my why is obviously I want people to love where they are. And so that means for me too. And if I can't embody that, then what good am I in teaching that? And so all of my what's are part of my why. And so I know that I'll figure it out because I truly believe that absolutely everything is figure outable, and I don't need to write down every single step. And so the first step is to know your why. You can do that. And then the second step, really, if you don't know your why, that's fine. What are the big things that you'd like to accomplish? And just write those big things down. It doesn't have to have any more detail to it than that. Just what do you want to do? So I'm going to stop here just a second to say I get that I am super privileged. I work part-time for an organization that I lead, and all the rest of the work that I do is my own creation. I don't work in a job. But I think this would apply even if you did work in a job. So here's what I think. I think that there are roles and tasks that you must have done. Everybody knows what they are. I have reports I have to write. There are processes I have to do. There's payroll I have to process. All those things happen. I don't think that any job is different. You can have a bigger what. So maybe if you're working a regular job, your bigger what is, I want to have more connection with my colleagues. And so that might mean I want to have more collaboration. I want to have more communication. I want to have more social time with them, whatever that means. Your what's don't actually have to be about a project. Now, that doesn't mean that projects don't get done. It just means that your what's might be more in line with who you are as a person. And that can happen on any level, at the corporate level or any job level, honestly. And so even if you're having project what's, right? So maybe it is we want to produce this next creative endeavor. That's the what, right? And so all your actions are going to move towards that, whatever that might be. And I think that anyone can do that. Anyone can figure out every 6 months or so, what are the things that you're really working on and that really light your fire. So the real shift happened to me when I started working with my therapist 5 years ago. And it was really only 3 years ago that I developed this idea that I have to feel good. What a concept. I realized that I had been just doing, both to receive validation on the outside and because I thought that I was some sort of human, I don't know, machine, just here to produce and do as much as I possibly can. And what I realized through all of that therapy is that I'm actually a human being and I want to feel good. So, what are the things that make me feel good? It wouldn't have been possible for me to do this work if I hadn't done the mental health work that I needed to do. And so if you are on a track of just constantly feeling like you're on a hamster wheel, producing, but you're not getting much fulfillment from it, and you're using all of the productivity tools out there, it might be that there's something more going on. And I cannot recommend enough that you go find a licensed therapist to work with. I didn't want to do this video without saying that your mental health is probably the thing that's keeping you on this productivity track. We have a need to feel in control, especially when the world is not feeling in control. And so I have seen a rise in productivity gurus, basically, and tools and apps and ideas. When life feels out of balance, we're reaching for these. And here's the thing I know the most. We're not really in control. We live in a universe that has some chaos in it. And so, although we can build plans and ideas and concepts to help us feel more in control, we have to help strengthen our own ability to feel okay when things are not okay. And the only way I know to do that really is through therapy. And so if you're on this journey and you're questioning whether productivity is for you, or you want to get off the hamster wheel of productivity, I would suggest that maybe you try to find a therapist. But let me tell you what I do, and then maybe that will help too. I use one notebook for all of my meeting notes, to-do lists, ideas, whatever it may be. And it is not fancy. It is just a composition book, one of those student wide rule composition books, because I write really big. And it is all in here. It's not fancy. It's not beautifully written. It isn't something that you would show as, here is my, my productivity tool. But it is one place to capture all of the things, the ideas, the notes, all of it. And what has helped with that is that I can go back if I need to refer back to a meeting, or I need to refer back to my own ideas or my own notes or my own to-do lists. They're all in one place. And I don't write in it every day. I write in it when I need to write in it, but I take it everywhere, and it is the thing that I use. And what's great about it is it's cheap. I don't feel any it's not precious in any way, like those old Stephen Covey uh, planners felt so precious, or bullet journals look so precious too, like they have to be presented in a certain way. It's messy in here, and that's how it's supposed to be. It is a working journal, for lack of a better word for it. And it is just the place where I am putting in all the information that I'm receiving or that I'm thinking. So that one place is very helpful. Now, it doesn't have to be a physical book. You could absolutely use a digital tool for this. I just find for myself, handwriting is just faster. And so that's what I do. And it can be any book. There's nothing magic about the composition book. It can be any book. But having one place is helpful, because then you are always knowing where to look. When you have multiple things happening in multiple places, that can be challenging as to, what am I doing today? I will say this too, is that because it's not precious, I don't have to worry about what it looks like, and it's not for anyone else. It's just for me. Yesterday, I took notes at a meeting, and they're very messy, but they're in the book. And when I need to go back and work on a project that was based on that meeting, I know exactly where to go. And so, like I said, you could absolutely do this digitally. That's fine. I just, for myself, find that a physical book is helpful. The other thing I use is my digital calendar. I have a calendar that is accessible to my family, so they can see where I am and what I'm doing. And I have them labeled by what they're for. So there's a calendar that's labeled for my nonprofit work. There's a calendar that's labeled for my consultant work. There's a family calendar, and they're all in that one calendar. Now, I only put in the calendar things that are events or due dates. So the reason for due dates is because I do work on a lot of things that have a date they're due, and it's helpful for me to back that out. So if it's due on the 18th, I may have the due date be on the 10th, and so that I get it done early. That's helpful, but that's all that's in there. It's not like I know there's a really popular app called Motion right now, and there'll be lots of others that design your day, and this time you're going to do this, and then this time you're going to do that, and this time you're going to do that. And I have found for myself that those rigid confines of time are not helpful. I may not want to paint at 10 a.m., even though that is what the calendar said. So instead, what I do is I just know these are the projects I need to get done, or these are the big goals I want to do, and how am I going to work on those today? And that might seem too fluid to you, but honestly, because I've had that mindset change of, how does it make me feel, I've been able to accomplish so much more. And I am able to keep things in a book and on the calendar, and I don't have to keep it all in my head if I don't want to. But honestly, as a creative, things are always in my head. I'm always thinking about them. So even though I may be walking in my district to find something on a project that I'm working on, I'm also thinking about something else that I'm doing. So that's how humans work. So having these rigid confines of time just do not work for me. And they may not be working for you if you're doing it. It's something to check out. Now, where I do use a digital tool is I keep running lists of ideas on my phone. That's been helpful because wherever I am, I can put an idea in. So if I have a project I'm working on, say like this YouTube channel, I have a running list of ideas so that if I want to do a video at some point about something, I have ideas already out there and I just add to it. And that's what I do for every of those big whats. They have a list and then I can put some ideas in there. And that has been so great because although I might not do all those things, it's a place to put them. Now, I could put them in the book. Absolutely. I would do a tab and they could have a place in the book. But what I have found about the phone is that, so say it's the weekend and I come up with an idea, but I'm out, with friends, I'm able to just quickly put it in my phone and it doesn't bother anyone and I'm not trying to lug a big book around. So that's been helpful. Lists under all of the whats. I also have a group of people that I meet with monthly, and those people are my inner circle, and we report on what we're doing and how we're doing it. I find that check-in monthly keeps me focused on what I need to do. And it's been invaluable to have that circle. So if you are looking to do a new big thing or work towards a big goal, it might be helpful to find other people in your life who are also working towards big goals. They do not have to be the same goal you're working on. And then you meet monthly with them to do a check-in. It's invaluable. We have the monthly meetup, and then we have, of course, a text that we text back and forth when we're having wins and also when we're having fails. It's nice to have that core group of people that you can count on to cheer you on and to help you through any of the problems that you might be having. They can sometimes see a perspective that you don't have. And honestly, that core group has been a major part of my productivity. Being able to report back on all the things that I have been able to do has been just a huge win for all of the work that I do. So find your people. And like I said, they don't have to be the people who are doing exactly what you're doing. They just have to be people who are motivated in their own life. I know there's a quote that says, "We are the 6 people that we spend the most time with." And I think having a core group of people who are moving forward in the same way is a fantastic way to have personal growth. As I said earlier, I also plan every 6 months. Every 6 months, I re-look at what it is that I'm working on or what I might want to work with, and I reevaluate it. Is this still working? Is this still something that I want to do? And it is loose. I'm not talking about some rigid, uh, plan. It is, are these the 7 things I want to be doing? Are these the 4 things? Is this the one thing? What is the big goal? Whatever that might be. And I just feel like that 6-month check-in. So this comes from the corporate world. Most corporations and nonprofits do yearly planning. And what I found was life happens and you need to be planning and be more flexible to be able to make changes and pivot. And so I have adopted in both my organization and my personal life a 6-month review. And I feel like we're able to navigate things and I'm able to navigate things much quicker because I am not waiting for a whole year to pass to figure out that something wasn't working or that there's a new opportunity that I want to dive into. That's the other thing about that is that if you have this flexibility, you're able to say, yes, let's chase that wild idea because you haven't locked in at the beginning of the year. This is what we're doing. It is okay to pivot. Now, I'm not saying be all over the place. That is probably a lot. But what I am saying is that having that half-year review, in fact, this is July, this would be the time to do it. This is a good time to relook at what you are doing for the next half of the year. Just have a check-in with yourself. What big goal do I want to attain? And you know what? It could be one thing. And if you work steadily towards that at your own pace, in your own way, and chase it in the way that makes you excited, that will make you productive. So as you can tell, I've ditched all of it. I just feel like all of those systems and ideas and gurus are just either trying to sell you something or give you a false sense of control of your life. And what I'm asking you to chase is how you feel. How do you feel about it? Does it make you happy? Check in with yourself. Really check in. Does this thing that I am working on make me happy? And if the answer is a stunning no, then maybe it's time to reevaluate and do something else. No bullet journal, no app, no list, no planner. None of it is going to make you happy. What makes you happy are the choices that you make. And so even if you're working a corporate job or any kind of job, and you do that reevaluation and check in with yourself and say, am I happy doing this? Do I like this? Do I like my team? Do I like my boss? Do I like the work? Am I lit on fire? Does this feed my soul? And the answers come out no. Now, there may be two options here. You may decide, yeah, no, but in my private life, I have a lot of things I love, and this work helps me afford my private life, and that's okay. It also could be, I want to reevaluate where I am and maybe do something different. And that might be a conversation that you have with some friends or maybe someone in your HR department or even the person that you work with. I just feel like we get to decide whether or not we feel good. Don't be like me. I ran that race for years, chasing something that wasn't there. I used every tool, I used every system. I thought all of it might make a difference. And honestly, it wasn't until I decided to do the work internally that I could be more productive. Your productivity might be hinging on what you love. And I want you to help find yourself, find what you love. And so ditch the tools, ditch the planner, ditch all of that, and get back to the basics of, does this light me up or does this not? If you've gotten this far in the video, first, thank you. I appreciate so much having you here and having these chats and talking about the things that I might know and maybe I can help. And now I'm curious about you. What systems have you tried in the past and what are you trying now to make you feel like you're more productive? And does it matter to you? I'm super curious. There's no shame in anything you're using. I've tried them all of them. And so if you're lit on fire about one thing or the other, I'd be happy to hear what that is. And then if you're not, I would be interested in, have you decided how you want to feel and how are you going to chase that? How is that going to help you be more productive? I truly believe the things that light us up are the things that we're more productive at, and the things that we don't like so much, we're not. Now, that doesn't mean we don't do things that we don't like. I do a lot of things that I don't like, and I still do them because they're just part of the life. It's just part of life. We all have to do things that we don't like. And so I don't get hung up on that, but I sure make sure that that cup is much fuller on the things that I do like and how I'm going to do it. It's not so much about all of the details, it's the what. If the what lights me up, then I'm able to be super productive, super happy, and happy along the way. Because it isn't the end that should be making me happy. It's the whole process. And even when there's challenges within the process, I try to find the joy in that, because just getting the chance to do the work that I get to do is amazing. And so tell me in the comments, how are you feeling about productivity tools? Do you follow some guru that tells you to do one thing or the other? Do you think you're productive enough? Do you think that your life is happy enough? Tell me, I'm curious. And again, thanks so much for watching. It means a lot. So if you want to, do the thing and like, subscribe, hit the little bell, whatever that is, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being here. You're doing a great job. You're doing fantastic. I'll see you next time.